All right, guys. So, to get started with today, I just wanted to point something out to you guys. You may have already seen it today when if you've been on Google Classroom at all today, okay? I have added something basically to our Google Classroom. So if you notice, if you make your way there, I'm not saying right now, but if you notice, I have added a little thing here of basically a YouTube channel where all of our recorded lectures are going to be. So if you've had my class before, hold on one second. If you had my class before, you know that on Google Classroom, I normally have a thing. I see you. Give me a second. Oh, are you okay? Do you need to go down to the nurse's office? Okay. Are you sure? Okay. That's okay. If you need to step out or something, that's fine. And then you can come back whenever you're ready. If you need to step out or whatever and then come back, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. Okay. No. So I've added this to Google Classroom because if you've taken my class before, you know that I normally have just a giant folder with all of our recordings. That took up a lot of space and it was a lot of work. So I'm just going to have this one link here. So if you miss classes or if you need review on notes or anything like that, this is where you're going to find it. Yes, Ryan. You subscribed? Yeah. That's fun. Wait, if you subscribe, you get extra credit. No, you don't have to subscribe. I saw that one of my videos had like 2 views on it. I didn't know you subscribed. Thank you. But if you subscribe, you get extra credit on every single video. No, I can't be bribed. Yes, Kyle. What if I get you? She has more subscribers than me. I doubt I will have more subscribers than any of you guys, okay? But I just wanted to make you guys aware that this is here because this is where you will find that stuff. I'm just gonna make you aware because this is where you're gonna find that information if you miss a day and stuff like that, okay? Just making you guys aware, okay? All right, so to start off with today, a little bit of Mr. Bats, woo! Yeah. Yeah. It's Moana. It's Moana this time. I've been feeling for a long time, and before rain causes come to mind, let's set us off on this road. Militarism, build a big navy, and through conscription, double the armies. Gotta be biggest, gotta have the best artillery. Of the only Germany to the lions, things getting hot. The trouble of time. Get your friends and rush out, pretend sides when decided. Can't take much more. Look into me like we're headed for a world war. Seems like everybody owns this land. This imperialism is hanging on rivalries. The rise of industrialization causes this competition for markets and colonies. Nationalism said your country's best and superior to all of the rest. If you don't have one, well, you must protest. It's not surely. You don't run for the name, don't you go for free, you're hungry. Too sorry, I he's killed off now. Austria, between Serbia and Germany. Let's end now. If Russia attacks, they got Austria's back. Russia moves Germany to my war. It's dramatic.
How old is he?
I don't know. Older than me. See, I always tell you guys, at least I don't have to do this. Somebody else has done it for me, and I don't have to sing for you guys. Okay? All right, so with this video and kind of what we talked about yesterday are these main causes of World War I, okay? MAIN, standing for militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism. That is where we left off yesterday, just gaining a basis of what are stick of dynamite and the building blocks of it, okay? No, that militarism, that, what? We're gonna get to all of them, so if you wanted to start off with it, yes, but if not, we're gonna get to all of them, okay? Not really, no. So these main causes are going to basically be the building blocks of this stick of dynamite, and the spark, or the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, is going to be kind of the ending demolition, if you would, right? But without these building blocks, without these things that lead up to the stick of dynamite, the spark does nothing. It's just a wick on fire, okay? But with these building blocks, it causes the kaboom, okay? What we are going to look through today is what militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism is or are, and what it looks like in the lead up to World War I, okay? If we have time, we'll basically start an assignment together. If we don't have time, we'll save it till Thursday, no big deal, but that is the game plan for today, okay? So when we're talking about our main causes, the most logical place to start is the M, which is militarism, okay? Militarism as our building block is the development of armed forces in the name of diplomacy, okay? Or to put it simply, building a large army, building a large military force to help us with, quote, diplomatic relations. Essentially, how we interact with other countries. Militarism is not a new concept. However, where we use it or how the world uses it during World War I is problematic. Because building an army and having a large collective armed force or military forces is not necessarily a bad thing. However, the way that the countries were kind of using what we call a just-in-case army is very problematic. That we are recruiting and building so much surplus and so much extra stuff in the name of basically threatening or to have this just in case is problematic. Okay? This development of this large military force isn't just about having enough people to be on ground warfare. It's also about a naval arms race. So this kind of militarism or this kind of just-in-case building is going to inspire this naval arms race to have massive navies to move back and forth between oceans. If we're thinking of naval arms, think of the Great White Fleet, this giant navy just wandering around, being like, look how cool our navy is, and miraculously not being blown up in the process, okay? Oh my goodness, if only. Oh, you just wait. So what it looks like in the United States specifically is that we okay legislation that will lead to the draft, which brings more people into military service. More people equals bigger armies, which inspires this armed forces, okay? We also have, because of the Industrial Revolution, kind of right on the heels of the turn of the century, we're getting better and better at building things, and more technology is being introduced every single day. So more technology, new processes means new weapons, new military forces. And last but not least, militarism is basically what's the word I'm looking for? Normalized, is given a basis in the American public with a great effort through propaganda and through like government persuasion. So militarism and like being in the military, making military service normal is all part of this process. They do this by doing things like having propaganda to hype up military service, like things like this, like, you know, or not, I shouldn't say things like this, but things like, I want you for the US Army, right? That it's cool to be in the Army, that it's awesome to have military service, that having a large army and having a large military force is important and we should care about it, okay?
I would.
The government's always super hyped about it.
Well, they don't appeal to veterans when they got a new war. They appeal to people who like were born with it.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna be happy and live your life after a war, you should be doing it in the first place. I don't care if you die for it.
All right, so our first piece of the stick of dynamite, militarism, is about building large armies just in case something happens. Also promoting military personnel and military life as normal. All right, next up, we've got our M. Let's talk about A. A stands for alliances. I feel like Sesame Street. A is for alliances.
Oh, that sounds like Dora. Dora's a
Yo soy Dora. All right, so A stands for alliances. No, you know what? Sesame Street would be more like, this episode is brought to you by the letter A, which stands for alliances.
You're calling Dora the illegal person.
No, I was gonna say illegal immigrants.
All right, we'll pause it there. Alliances is what A stands for, okay? Alliances are necessary, or the reason alliances builds the stick of dynamite is because we want alliances for mutual protection for multiple countries, okay? So just like this cartoon exhibits that this, you know, smaller person over here is getting picked on by this person, but this person has this person's back, but this person has this person back, and so on and so forth. Basically, that if somebody hurts the little guy, that you've got backup, okay?
To one of the other guys, absolutely.
Unfortunately, yes. Okay. Alliances are normally formed based on countries having the same goals or ideas, or just having multiple things in common, okay? So for example, country A, who is communist or totalitarian, is not going to be in an alliance with country B that's democratic. Generally speaking, okay, there are some exceptions. However, that's generally not going to happen because democratic governments and communist governments have two very different ideal sets, okay? But democratic countries and say maybe constitutional monarchies or other democratic countries are going to be alliances because they have things in common. These alliances would often sign treaties with each other to make sure if someone were to attack them or if war were to happen, that those people would be there for each other.
Was there like ever like consequences like if it didn't happen?
Yeah, so if somebody like didn't come to the rescue, basically, that would strain the relationship of those two alliances, and the person who got screwed over in that instance would have every right to go attack them. So basically, help me or I'm going to attack you. Yeah.
And any other countries that were potentially had alliance.
Yeah. So like if you screw up the line, you're screwed in general. Yeah, Kyle. Good question. The U.S. the U.S. has alliances in World War I with what we call the Allied powers. We're going to look at it in just a second, right? If you're talking about right now, there's not really as big of alliances right now. Mhm. We no, we didn't like Japan. Oh, yeah, way after. Yeah, because Vietnam. Which ones were we allied with during Pearl Harbor? We were allied with Britain, France, and kind of Russia. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, is it just me, or does that look like the same height?
Height as you?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know the scale.
He seems about 5'4". No, he's 3 foot.
All right, so like Kyle asked, who are the alliances? Okay, these alliances are so important, or it's part of this dynamite. Who are the alliances? Okay, the alliances basically pre-World War I, before the war starts, looks like this. We have the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance, two major alliances within Europe specifically that kind of have two different mindsets, okay? The Triple Entente is France, Britain, and Russia. They are the big three. Those two, especially France and Britain, or excuse me, those three, especially France and Britain, are like lifelong buddies. They will be alliances forever, okay? The Triple Alliance, on the other hand, is Germany, Italy, and Austria-Hungary, three also large empires that are pretty good buddies with each other for a decent amount of time as well. Until there's always a but. That's kind of like the big thing in this trimester is there's always a well, kinda.
Actually, until
Austria. Austria is
What? During no Czechoslovakia. Mhm. France after Poland. All right, so these two groups, okay, are going to be, like I said, pre-World War I. All right, so these are all the alliances, or this is what's going on before fighting has actually started, before the spark, before the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Okay, these are going to change basically after World War I, specifically when basically the United States gets involved. Okay. And I'll give you just a second to write these down, and then we'll look at what they look like after World War I has started. Yes. Does it really? I thought it did. I thought it meant like or like partnership or something like that.
It means like a mutual understanding.
Mm-hmm.
What does
Entente.
So the Triple Entente actually means the Triple Alliance.
did you say wonton?
Entente.
It sounds like wonton.
All right.
We have lots of in Austria.
Maybe. I don't know.
Wait, why did this go straight to food?
I don't know.
You said wonton food.
Oh, you guys are gonna be a fun class, but oh god, it's so hot in here for you guys to be talking. One of them's already open. Yes, you can.
Why?
You got it?
I open all of them.
Cause it's hot.
Open all of
Why? I'm wearing a jacket and I don't think it's hot.
them. I'll make a touch.
All right, so after World War I, or kind of in the middle,
What?
after World War I, or kind of as World War I is getting started, we have a different set of rules or a different set of allies. The Allied powers versus the Central powers. These are the ones that are going to semi-continue into World War II as well, but it changes dynamics. The Allied powers then turn to France, Britain, Russia, and Italy switches sides, as well as 23 other countries and colonies of these other empires. No, the other one was pre-World War I. Yes, Trey.
Didn't Italy switch over to their promised land?
Yes. Basically, Britain went, hey, you're going to lose this fight. Come help us, and we'll give you a little something, something in return.
We'll give you fight.
So the Central Powers, on the other hand, will continue to be Germany and Austria-Hungary, but the Ottoman Empire as well, which if you remember is kind of that empire that lays in the Middle East, or what is now the Middle East, will join that allyship, allies in as we go through World War I. Sorry, I lost my words there for a second.
They have much power
Why is
and
Italy on that?
reach beyond
They cheated. They cheated,
Eh.
on the America.
Little bit in Africa, little bit, teeny tiny,
not Asia, you heard?
not really.
Reaching over Asia
Yes,
yet?
yeah, most of it,
India,
Now, Ryan, would you say?
India specifically.
India, China.
Would you say when you were doing this?
You have not had anything like this.
I don't have a solar apart.
Yeah. That's why you're not surprised.
Yeah, you're right. I sold my soul.
I think somebody answered it, but I thought I heard somebody say, "Why is Italy in all caps?" It's because they switched over.
I didn't say that.
Did it get answered? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So Italy is in all caps because they switched sides. That they used to be friends with Germany and Austria-Hungary, and it moved over.
Yeah, but I'm gonna trust the teacher and not your.
If you would have been listening, you would have known.
Guys, chill. It is too hot and too late in the day for this.
Too late.
You guys should go to Texas. It's way better.
No.
They just tell them-
I'll say not right now.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Personality traits being in Texas.
It's really, it was, they have a
What?
All right, thumbs up. We're good to go.
I'm not as sad.
I'm ready to go. I'm not ready to go. I'm getting bullied over here because of my height.
Don't bully Nick.
We're not, we're just saying, what, here does not matter, certain views more in Texas.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas. I'm just compensating.
All right, so we are moving on. We've talked about the M, we've talked about the A. The next logical place to go is the I, which is imperialism. All right.
I think you're gonna have trouble with this class.
All right, so imperialism should be a breeze, right? It's almost like we spent a whole unit on it, okay? Imperialism are countries of the world looking for new markets, places to get raw materials, lands to rule, colonizing 101. Like tooth, but yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So the countries of the world are looking for new markets, new places to get raw materials, aka extractive economies, and lands to rule, colonizing 101. The places that we are turning most frequently when it comes to this is Africa as a brand new market that has been largely untouched and a population that cannot fight back, and Asia.
Except for, Somalia.
Yeah.
Well, at least I knew that there was that one.
Yeah.
That one country.
So we're taking over Africa and Asia. Britain and France have the upper hand in almost all of these areas. France gets a head start on Africa very early in the game, and it helps them take over most of North Africa. Britain is taking over most of Asia, if not a little bit of Africa as well. Germany, Italy, and the United States join later, causing conflict within those colonies as well as just with interests in general. Yeah, Ryan. Sometimes yes, but France got very jealous in some instances. Like, why do you get everything? Why can't I have something? So there was conflict there as well. Yeah, Sean.
I know it's nothing to rule the Lord doing, but in the Civil War, was there like a half where like the middle where they split Lord stuff to the middle,
Yeah.
the half?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're good.
This is totally.
I love questions like that. Go ahead.
But,
Fortnite. Bro.
but, so, you know how.
I can't hear my question.
So, you know how America, like, our colonies or whatever.
Yes.
Split off from, what,
Britain, yeah.
Britain, yeah. And the Britain, like, history books, like, what does it say? Just like, oh, we also, like, lost a bunch of people, but, let's ignore that. Like, is that what
I mean, probably just like, oh, this was kind of important, but also look at all the other stuff we have.
No, they probably
Yeah.
just say we gave. They probably just say we gave.
Oh
up.
yeah, like the mid 1700s into the late 1700s is just rebellion after rebellion after revolution in Europe in general. So they had a lot to worry about. They're probably like, fine, whatever, just let us deal with other things. Yeah, European footnotes, if not world history. Yeah, Sean.
What did Italy, Germany, and USA join together for?
Italy, Germany, and USA don't necessarily join, but they basically, or they join colonizing Africa and Asia. Oh no, they're not on the same team. When I say join, I just mean they're joining colonization, joining imperialism. So when they're picking up things in Asia, it's conflicting with other things that people have picked up, or like when they pick up things in Africa. Oh, that's a long time.
No, they're trading. They give them slaves.
No.
Was never during.
All right, so we've talked about M, we've talked about A, we've talked about I. Let's move on to N to round out our main acronym, which is nationalism. Nationalism as our stick of dynamite is kind of like the pièce de résistance, okay? The rest of them aren't as bad without the constant reassurance of nationalism egging these things on, okay? So imperialism, obviously there's pros and cons to it, wouldn't be as bad if we weren't thinking in a nationalistic mindset. Militarism, not that bad to have a good army, but because we are using it with nationalism, it becomes very problematic. Alliances, the same way, okay? The definition of nationalism is the identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. Breaking that down, it is the belief that national interests are more important and should be placed ahead of global cooperation and other nations' interests, okay? So what is good for, in this instance, if we're talking US history, what is good for the United States, what is good for our economy, our people, what we stand for takes precedence above everything else, even to the point where we will not cooperate with others to make that happen. Nationalism is also expressed not only with just like, hey, my stuff is should take importance, but my stuff is the best stuff. That I am the best of the best. I am the GOAT. You cannot tell me differently. I will literally fight to the death about it. Okay. That's part of it, but it's mostly just a mindset that we are better, point blank, period, and I am willing to do whatever it takes to prove that. When it comes to World War I, it's expressed as competitiveness with other nations. Who can have the most colonies? Who can have the better economy? Who can have the biggest navy? Yeah. Yes. Who can have the most alliances and win the war? Whoever wins the war is the GOAT. So guess who's going to war? Everyone. Okay. Nationalism can also, on a smaller level, so not just country to country, but like personal and social philosophy, can also be described as like this extreme patriotism. This can be good and bad, okay? It is not a bad thing to be patriotic. However, extreme nationalism leads to things like Nazism, okay? Nazis are extreme nationalists, okay? So it is not a bad thing to be nationalistic, to have pride in your country, to be patriotic, but extreme nationalism is toxic, especially when mixed with the wrong types of people.
So you're
Yeah.
calling it saying as the opposite of nationalism.
Huh. Opposite of nationalism. Yeah, kinda. Anarchy, where you're just like, no, F the government, we're the worst, everything sucks. Kind of. Yeah, Sean. In what? Well, New York was a main base. There's a lot of people in New York, and it would help with World War I, but not just specifically New York. Yeah, very good. I know. I had to freeze it real quick. I need to see where we were going. All right, so once again, these four things, these main causes, militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism, build or are these building blocks for this stick of dynamite that is eventually going to explode and cause World War I. Without them, that spark or that lit match is not going to do a whole lot of good, okay? Yeah, that's basically my spiel on that one, okay? So when we are entering World War I, again, we are not quite there yet. We've still got a little bit to go. But when we are entering World War I, this is the current state of the world. Everything in green are people who are allied together under the Allied powers or under kind of the Triple Entente. Everything in orange are the people who are under the Central powers, or the people who, like Germany, Ottoman Empire, Austria, Hungary, okay? Gray are neutral countries. Based on this map, how's it looking? Little unfair, kind of seems like, right? Huh? Yes. Yeah, try. Papua New Guinea kind of stays neutral in this instance. We don't need it for anything in particular, but it stays neutral in this instance. Where is it at? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking of regular New Guinea. Yeah, so it's split in half and it becomes a naval base. This is something where we are gonna go in and fight because it's closer in the Pacific and it keeps our interest in Philippines, basically. Yeah, Ryan. I don't know. Not off the top of my head. That would have to be something that I would go look at. Yeah. Why Uganda and Rwanda are neutral. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to look for it.
Wait, what's that?
Okay. All right. So if we're looking at this map, right, the people in green or these green countries seem to be at a very high advantage, right? However, these orange countries are going to pack a whole punch, right? If we look at the entire world, it's a lot of green. If we focus in on just this area right here, which is where the fighting is happening, it's a pretty 50-50 split, okay? So although it's all about perspective in this point, although in the terms of the world, those 23 other countries seem like a big deal, with most of the fighting happening here, it's about the same. It's about a 50-50. Yeah, that's basically it, okay? All right, so you guys can go ahead and put your notes away and grab out your laptops and head to Google Classroom, please.
I expect the next one to be the one. Brandon, the reason why I'm so sure he's on the top. No, I have a time button. Oh, I didn't really watch it. No, I haven't counted these speeches.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
My mom's calling it, you did.
Yes. Gotcha. Oh, shoot. It's coming.
Oh, okay, so Donald Trump had Rwanda, Burundi, which before Rwanda and Burundi split was
Here you go, Brendan. Oh, there we go. Okay.
And so, you want to reward just one country before 12 month holiday by Delta,
Mm.
and then after that, wait next month.
Gotcha.
I got it.
All right, so on Google Classroom, there is an assignment that just got posted. If you're not seeing it, refresh, okay? That'll take you to something that looks like this. It says causes of World War I cartoons. That's right, we're starting off with some cartoons, okay? What I would like you to do are the basis of this assignment, and you have basically the rest of the period, which is a decent amount of time to complete this. There should be no reason that you guys don't complete it, okay? There are 4 different cartoons, and there are 4 different causes. Each cartoon relates to one of those 4 causes. What I would like you to do is look at these cartoons, do a little bit of analysis, and there are 3 questions to answer for each of those cartoons. Number 1, what is going on in this picture? What is going on in this cartoon? Describe the actual features that you are seeing, okay? Number 2, which cause of World War I is this related to? Based on what we've seen and on your notes, which one is this related to? And then number 3, why do you think this one is related to that? What makes it seem like that one is imperialism or alliances or nationalism, okay? Same 3 questions for each cartoon. Like I said, you have a solid 20 minutes to complete this, so there should be really no reason that we shouldn't be able to get it in by the end of class if we are using our class time effectively. So make sure we are please doing that. When you are finished, go ahead and turn it in, and that is kind of it that we are doing today, okay?